Hi folks, first of all I want to say a huge thank you for my previous video that I uploaded talking about the operation that my daughter's going to have. She really wanted to say a quick message and a thank you to everyone that sent a kind message or left a donation. Me and my wife have been bowled over by the support of the community, and I really appreciate it, guys, from the bottom of my heart. So here's a quick message from Meredy.
Hi guys, this is Meredy. I just want to say thank you for all the kind messages and donations. You really made me happy and made my day. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Bye!
In today's tutorial we're going to be painting a Blood Angel Storm Raven from start to finish. But first of all I want to say a huge thank you to Goblin Gaming, who sent me the kit out for this tutorial. If you check the description box below you'll find a direct link to their web store, so please check that link out, guys. I specifically wanted to paint a Blood Angel Storm Raven because it's been about 4 or 5 years since I did my last tutorial, and I'm hoping that you can see improvements in my weathering skills from this video against the old video. So I believe that this is a worthy tutorial and an upgrade from my old tutorial that I did about 4 or 5 years ago. Okay, as always guys, this is going to be a really long tutorial, so go grab yourselves a nice hot drink, or maybe in this blistering hot weather we're getting in the UK, an ice cold beer, and we'll get started with the tutorial. I'm going to start off by using Steinor Res's black primer, and we're going to paint on the underneath of the see-through clear canopies on the Storm Raven. Now as you can see I've masked the top areas off and we're painting underneath the canopies. The reason we're doing it underneath the canopies is that it will still leave a really nice shiny sheen to the top surface of the canopies if we spray underneath. If we spray on the top it would obviously leave a matte result and it would look painted on instead of like real glass. It's really important that you make sure that you spray a nice heavy thick coat. Don't do it all in one spray, so spray several thin coats to make up the heavy thick coat. The last thing you want, guys, is to glue these components down to the Storm Raven and find that you haven't coated all of the plastic canopy enough and left spots see-through. Now I'm going to be using Alclad's Lacquer Primer. It's very important to note with lacquer primers that you're very well ventilated, wearing a respirator, as they're very harmful if inhaled. It's also important to note that these are known as hot liquids. What that means is that you'll need an airbrush with PTFE solvent proof seals. Other airbrushes with less quality seals would be damaged with these lacquer primers. I also want to note that I'm using an Iwata Eclipse airbrush that I got from airbrushes.com. I also get all my Alclad paints from airbrushes.com also. I'm priming here at about 20 psi and I'm working at about 3 to 4 inches away, and I'm placing the primer down really nice and thin and smooth. The key here is not to keep the airbrush in any one spot and to keep the airbrush moving as you don't saturate the model with too much primer. Now we're going to do a technique that's called pre-shading. We're going to be using Vallejo Model Air German Red Brown. And we're going to go around every single one of the panel lines on the Storm Raven, and we're going to really make those panels pop when we lay down the base coat layer a little later on. Take your time in this stage, guys, and it'll pay later on in the base coating stage later on. Try to get the lines as smooth as possible, but don't worry if they become a little uneven, as the more of the base coat layer we put down, the more we can cover up this pre-shading. So don't worry too much if you're new to airbrushing and you can't get your lines that smooth and straight, but just try to get them as smooth as you can. Here you can see what the Storm Raven looks like after all of it's been pre-shaded. Now we're going to use Vallejo Model Air Ferrari Red. You may also know this as Italian Red, as I believe it got a rebrand and a relabeling. As I mentioned a moment ago, now we're going to be doing the base coat layer, and as you can see, the pre-shading is going to show from underneath straight through to that Ferrari red colour, and it's going to leave some really nice shadows behind, which is going to really start making this Storm Raven pop and come alive. Again, I'm working at 20 psi and I'm keeping the airbrush moving, not keeping it stationary in any one spot on the vehicle, and we're controlling how much of that pre-shading shows through. As I mentioned earlier on in the video, we can show as little or as much as we like depending on how thick we place down the base coat layer. This is the very first time using Vallejo Premium Airbrush Colours Satin Varnish, and I really like this varnish, guys. They're regular varnishes in the Model Air line and in the Model Colour line is really thick, and you have to thin it a lot to spray out of the airbrush, and even then it can be a bit tricky, whereas this premium colour varnish is really thin, sprays absolutely beautifully, and I highly recommend this varnish. Now the reason we're using this varnish is for two purposes. We're using it to make the vehicle in front of us, the Storm Raven, have a nice tough exterior coat, so it's going to help alleviate paint chips, but we're also applying it over the decals to make them match the surface of the Storm Raven, as what you'll find if you don't varnish, you'll be left with glossy looking decals and matte looking surface of the paintwork, and it'll just look uneven. So it's really important that we use some satin varnish to cover over those decals and to protect the paintwork. We created some deep shading in the pre-shade stage, but now we're going to create even more shadows using Ammo by Miggs black wash. Now this is an enamel product, and enamel products are much easier to use than acrylic washes, believe it or not. What you'll find with enamel washes is the capillary action of the brush works better with these washes than acrylic washes, and also cleanup is really easy to do with odorless thinners, or you could use white spirit. You're able to wipe off any staining on the vehicle with the white spirit or odorless thinners. As you can see, I'm going around every single one of the panel lines on the vehicle, and it's going to really help define all of those details and separate panel from panel. We're going to create some really nice soot effects on the vehicle using Vallejo Game Air Black. Now we're going to create some really nice soot streaks, and as you can see, I'm pulling a tiny amount back on the trigger, and I'm working from right to left, drawing the lines back across the wings as if debris and soot had actually brushed across the wings with speed. Now we're going to create chips. We're going to be using Vallejo Model Colours Wood Grain. We're going to use a sponge here, and we remove most of the excess paint from the sponge with some paper towel, and then we slowly touch the sponge gently onto the surface of the model, concentrating more so on the extreme edges of panels where you think chips would naturally occur. Now we're going to create some rust, but I'm going to use this very sparingly. I don't want the vehicle to look too rusty, but I just want to add some areas of interest to the vehicle. Here you can see that I've masked off all the areas around the turbines. We're going to be using Alclad's jet exhaust on the turbines. It's really important that you use a good quality masking tape like Tamiya, which I've used. Household masking tape really is too sticky and can damage your paintwork, and also paint can bleed underneath, so really recommend getting good quality masking tape. It's very important that we mask off the areas around that we're painting with the metallics, because metallic flecks are very hard to cover if got on the red areas of the vehicle. But I really love this colour from Alclad. I think the jet exhaust colour is really nice. Now we're going to go around the vehicle and we're going to paint all of the metal areas of the Storm Raven in gunmetal grey from Vallejo metal colour range. I didn't film it, guys, but after all of the metallics had thoroughly dried, they all get washed with Agrax Earthshade. You can use Norn Oil, but I wanted to leave all the metallics looking really oily and grubby. So the turbines and all of the gunmetal grey areas get washed with Agrax Earthshade. Now we're going to create something known as object source lighting, or OSL for short. We're going to use Vallejo Game Air Electric Blue on all the lenses of the vehicle. As you can see here, we're getting really close with the airbrush, about an inch to an inch and a half away, and I'm just slowly pulling back with the airbrush as I spray the paint. This is what gives that glow effect. As the source light becomes dimmer towards the outer circle and more prominent towards the inner circle of the lights. Now we're making that object source lighting look a little bit more brighter using any form of white. Here I believe I'm probably using Game Air white, but as I say, any white paint will do for this job, and I'm just hitting the very extreme centers of the lights with the white. And here we have our finished Storm Raven. This video is an upgrade, as I said at the start of the video, from a tutorial I did about 4 or 5 years ago, and I think that this tutorial is much improved over the original, but you can be the judge of that, guys. I really want to hear your thoughts on this tutorial. Did you enjoy it, guys? What type of tutorial would you like to see me do in future? I'm always open to suggestions. Lastly, guys, I want to thank Goblin Gaming for sending me the kit out for review, and also, again, it can't be emphasized enough how much and how appreciated all of those kind comments on the last video was. All of the donations, as little as they was or as large as they was, they were all heartwarming and really bowled me and my wife Karen over. So thank you so much. So thank you for watching, guys, and I will catch you in the next video.